Welcome back. You're still watching Daybreak on this 29th day of August 2023. I want to introduce the panelists here in studio. We have Senator of Kisii County, Richard Onyonka. Good morning.
Good morning, Sami.
Good to see you here. Geoffrey Wandeto is the Member of Parliament for Tetu constituency. Good morning.
Good morning, Sam.
Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Robert Basil Ngui, Member of Parliament, Tetu constituency. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks, Sam. Good to see you here. And David Ochieng, Member of Parliament for Ugenya. Good morning.
Good morning, Sam.
Welcome back.
Good to see you, Sam.
Good to see you. We missed you last week. It's good to see you again. Now, there are several things happening, including what you'll find on the papers. The Standard and the Nation. Ruto wades into rise, sugar woos. President William Ruto in vowing to crush sugar cartels, made reference to Jaswant Rai, who was abducted by a known person, saying he is a nobody to manipulate the industry. And you'll see a similar story on the Nation. Ruto issues Mumia's order amid Rai abduction puzzle. And the president is not very happy with some of the court cases that are in court as the fight for control of Mumia's sugar continue. He is saying that all those cases need to be dropped and Mumia's sugar managed because it is the property of the public as we struggle to revitalize the sugar sector and get back to where it should be. And I want us to have a mention on that before we transition to the other issues about the other crisis that we're having, that is about power and energy costs in the country. Senator Onyonka, when you hear the president speaking as he is, at a time that there is that controversy about the abduction of that investor, Jaswant Rai, what are we dealing with here, even as we struggle with the sugar sector in this country? The prices, you know where they are, but the local sector is not doing as it should.
Good morning, Sami. These events are quite amazing because, one, for the first time in Kenya, I saw an individual who is extremely wealthy, who's also known in the business circles. First abducted, and then after that, the guy was released. What is funny is that Mr. Rai, who I know personally, because I've known him for a very long time, has not said who abducted him, why, and what the issue is. What was interesting is that at the same time that was happening, the day before, the president had actually discussed Mr. Rai publicly, and he had mentioned words which may not have been very good about what crimes Mr. Rai might have committed. I would like to sincerely plead with our president. You know, his actions and his utterances mean something. When a president stands up and talks about an individual, that individual, whether he has broken the law or not, puts that individual in a position where I see unfairness. In other words, I do believe, Sami, that we must protect due process very vigilantly. We must allow, if somebody has broken the law, let him go through the process. Send the DCI, send the EACC if that is the issue. Present the evidence. Let this individual be taken to court. Let the president not be a person who makes announcements in public where he's actually accusing somebody, because then he's trying this individual in public in advance. But that doesn't mean that the president could be wrong. The reason is there's some information he has on the issues which have been affecting the sugar sector in Kenya. And indeed, all our sugar factories, Mumias, Chemelil, Sony, they're all dead. Sami, what is very funny about our sugar industry is two things. And I've watched very keenly, and I'm sure my brother Ochieng has also done. Our sugar factories, which are state-run, have failed. And for me, that is a question we should always, but the ones which are privately run,
right?
You're talking about Ndewa, you're talking about Kabras, you're talking about Western Sugar,
Butali.
You're talking about Butali, you're talking about Transoia, I mean not Transoia, Transmara. All the private sugar companies are making a profit. They are running, they are employing people. So what is it that makes government-owned or government interest sugar factories to always collapse? My belief is the collapse has been intentional. All right. One, we get managers who go to those sugar factories. The basic agenda, the top managers, the basic agenda has been to collapse those sugar factories. And to be honest with you, you can look at Mumia Sugar when Kidero was there. Look at what happened. That is actually when Mumia started going down. Number two, the government policy on sugar, as far as I'm concerned, is convoluted, is mixed up. Even when the president means well and he's saying we are going to come up with solutions on what we are going to do with public sugar factories, blah, 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 blah. The truth is we know right now there is sugar which has been brought in. Of course, the decision was made as a government policy to make sure that we don't have a shortage, then so that the price doesn't go up, all those things. But if you look at our policy in terms of how we have run our sugar factories and what has happened historically, including Kwale Sugar, there's a sugar company called Kwale Sugar.
That's doing good.
All our public sugar companies have just been cash cows, high levels of corruption, lack of utilization of satisfactory crop husbandry and management systems for these factories to work. All these factories have been bailed out by various previous governments where what I call payments which have been made directly from the treasury, actually grants which have been given to these sugar factories, they've always collapsed. So I think the president is right in trying to come up and saying he has a solution to the sugar factories and the problems of these sugar factories.
Okay.
But I also, Sammy, would not want the president to take power into his own hands and begin to victimize individuals that he feels are individuals who have disadvantageously mismanaged or played a role in making sure that these factories have collapsed, and him making these announcements on roadsides, whereby, of course, the public and the crowd will be very happy he has done that. But the truth is, I think, to me, let him set up even a commission. Let him get people who know a lot about the sugar industry. Let these people make recommendations. Or if the government before has made certain recommendations on what needs to be done with these sugar factories, why has nothing ever happened? You'll find that some of the leadership in the previous government actually wanted to own these sugar factories. And that's why deliberately they've made sure that the sugar factories collapse. I mean, I know of a story, for example, that in one of the previous governments, the issue that was being, what they were planning to do is actually take all the extension land which Mumia Sugar owns, which is over 120,000 acres of land. That is what they wanted.
Right.
And yet, interestingly enough, and I really want to thank my colleague Boni Halwale, he stood up, he has said, don't sell our factories. We know the game which is being played. The public is not even being asked. And according to the law, there are no public hearings.
Okay.
Let everything be done within the law, and like the president has said, and I completely support him, please let us find a lasting solution to the sugar problem in Kenya. But at the same time, Mr. President, don't take the law into your own hands. Let the normal due process take place.
Right, and if you look at that story that is on page 7, the president is quoted in a story here, but also the member of parliament for Mumia's East, Peter Salasia, is requesting the president, we just want you to issue an order to stop West Kenya Sugar Company owner from filing cases in court against Mumia Sugar so that the sugar mill can resume operations. And if that is achieved, I will shift my political allegiance to you. This is Salasia telling the president. The president responded, I have heard my friend Salasia mention cartels in the sugar industry, but I want to tell you that being the president, I am aware of the things than you do, and I am better informed. This is public property, and we will not allow individuals to grab property belonging to the people, said the president. Honorable Wandeto, if the president comes, I mean, he's being asked to issue an order stopping West Kenya from filing cases in court. I mean, that's purely against the rule of where every person has a right to be heard. But is there anything the president can do? Because he's also saying that they have to withdraw those cases so that the public interest can be defended. How do you do that if you're the president? You know so much, yes, but also the rule of law requires a certain procedure.
Okay, Sam, I think I quite agree with my brother here, Senator Onyonka, on his analysis of the sugar sector and what is going on. And I think it's one of the sectors that, you know, when we talk about state capture, this is also another sector that I think has suffered being in the hands of a few individuals who seem to manipulate the rules in their favor.
What is
And I
state
think
capture here?
And I think the president is very, very determined, Sam, to
Yeah.
ensure that he brings order to the sugar sector. It's a sector that's very important to the people of Western Kenya, to the people of the coast region and other sugar growing areas, in that it provides a livelihood for hundreds of thousands of Kenyans. And as we seek as a country to revive the economy, we have to also look at the fortunes of our farmers and how we can be able to support them. So the president stepping in the manner that he has done to bring some bit of order in this sector, I think is very, very welcome. This sector, like you have said, has been frustrated by all manner of players from court cases. And some is not just Mumias Sugar. We have stories of Miwani. We have, I think, stories of Nzoia Sugar with some 1973 debt. The sugar sector is riddled with all manner of challenges. And I think the government coming out to say it's going to commit 53 billion shillings to basically sort of bring a semblance of order to this sector by writing off the old debts and trying to write a new chapter is very welcome for our sugar farmers. And also, this again will go a long way in terms of supporting us to reduce the dependence on imported sugar.
Yeah, but when you say state capture, where? I need to understand that.
I mean, Sam, when we generally talk about state capture, we mean repurposing, the state to basically benefit a few people. That's why people get lopsided lease deals. Onyonka has said people want to grab Mumia's sugar land, 120,000 acres. So it is this manipulation, whether through court, whether through legislation, whether through, government giving up, its land to individuals without a proper due process, without what I would call an arm's length sort of transaction. This is what we keep seeing in this sector. And that's why, the analogy has been given here very clearly, the private sugar companies are thriving, and they seem to be doing so at the expense of the government-owned sugar mills. There has been stories of something like cane poaching, where you are saying some of these private sector companies are actually going into the sugar zones. In the sugar sector, there's a zone where you can basically draw your cane.
Right.
Some of them invade other people's zones and get the sugar. And these are the things that we keep seeing in this sugar sector.
So, tell me this, Honorable Wandeto, because the president is saying that hao watu wote hakuna mtu akona kitu hapo, hao wakora wote watoke, hiyo kampuni ni ya wananchi na tutapangia upya, hakuna kesi tuta-entertain. Kesi watoe na wao wenyewe watoke, na nimewaambia mambo ni matatu. Wakitaka kuniletea kisirani, either wahame Kenya, ama nitawaweka jela, ama wasafiri waende binguni. Jameni, wametusumbua sana hapa Mumias. What does that mean?
Well, I think whatever you have read is exactly, as it is. I think what the president is saying, without me trying to interpret the words the way I'm sure you'd like me to interpret them, what the president is trying to say here is, this is a grave issue. And I think it's very, very important that we address this issue once and for all.
You said it's a grave issue.
And for all. Yeah, it's a matter, it's a very, very serious matter. People cannot forever hold, hundreds of lives at ransom for their own personal benefits. I think that's what the president is basically trying to say here.
Okay. Honorable, what do you think? What's going on here? I know, yes, there's a problem, but what's going on?
Well, just like what my brothers have said, I think there is a high level of corruption and mismanagement. Because when you hear the president making such utterances, it's very clear that the way the sugar companies are being run, there is a lot of cartels and corruption, basically.
Interesting stuff. I'm looking at the figures because there's a Sugar Task Force report of 2018. The report came, I think, in April 2019. I'm not sure about the implementation. So the national demand of sugar is 1 million metric tons. The local production in 2018 was 490,000 metric tons. That's barely 50%. So there was a deficit of 521,000 metric tons, which needed to be imported. But the milling capacity in the factories that are in Kenya is 14.96 million metric tons. That's close to 14 times what we need as a country. But then again, the requirement of sugarcane for that would be 9.84 metric tons. But yes, so the requirement to produce 1 million metric tons of sugar would require 9.84 metric tons of sugarcane. But the country is only able to do about 50%. So there are challenges of cane production, that is in the farming process, but also the milling side is problematic. Farmers have complained over time. Now we are actually almost net importers of sugar. Sugar is too expensive. There's an excess duty on imported sugar that was imposed by the Finance Act of 5 shillings per kilo. So these are all passing on to the consumer. Are we dealing with the real problem here?
Yeah, Sam, we're dealing with the real problems. The approach taken by the president, in my opinion, is the best. Now, I've told you severally, Sam, and on this I'll not wear the lawyer's hat. I've told you, if I'm president, one day, I will not speak the way the president is speaking. I will do. Those 3 things he said, I will do them. I will not talk about them.
You take people to heaven.
On this issue of sugar, because you're talking about 20, 30 million Kenyans whose livelihoods have been messed up for the last 25, 30 years. And you want to pay, to play ping pong with it, allow Indians to come here and play poker with us? No. I would do the same, and I want to repeat that I would not talk about them, I will do it. You know, Sam, this president, I think, has been forced into this issue of sugar. He was one of the guys who was saying, no, we don't need sugar factories. You heard him talk about this when he just came to power. He was not convinced about the viability of the sugar sector in the country. And he was saying, let's sell them off to people to manage them. But we've been able to convince him that you cannot be talking about reviving coffee, reviving tea, and then you don't want to revive sugar. Where will those people in Western Kenya go? And so the approach that is saying we should take is take the ownership of these sugar factories to the farmers. So that, for example, if you want to revive Mumias, or you want to revive Nzoia, or you want to revive Miwani or Sony, and you want to put government money into it, don't send money as grants. Don't send money down there and say you're paying debts. Because, Sam, in the last 10 years alone, the kind of money that are going into Mumias in terms of, if they put $1 billion today, tomorrow they'll say there's no money because the $1 billion goes in and goes, it's like, it's a bottomless pit. So there's no reason in putting in grants into these factories. Again, what he's saying is, let's get off all these interests. Then start afresh. That's the point the president is making. But you can't start afresh when there are so many vested interests, cartels upon cartels, that have taken over and shocked the sector. The level where you make that sugar reform report you're talking about, this is not the first one. This would probably be the 6th one in the last 11 years. Right. Sugar reform. We've had very many good recommendations about what you need to do on sugar. But they are never implemented because at every level, Sam, there's not just court cases. No. Every election year, even last year, you hear, oh, there's a duty-free, quota-free import of sugar. Who benefits? It's politicians like me and my colleagues here, and the cartels we're talking about, protected by the system. So I want to tell you this for sure, that if we are to sort out the sugar industry in this country, people must let government to help clean up that sector. You can imagine, I'll just give an example, that Mumias Sugar, for a while in Western Kenya, for a while, was the livelihood of people from Bungoma, Kakamega, Busia, Siaya, where I come from. We would deliver sugar and get paid within a week or 2 weeks. And how do you deliver sugar and you don't know whether you're going to be paid or not? You plant your sugar, you use your own money to plant the sugar and all that, and then you're being told you can't sell to so and so, you can't sell to so and so. Then, where government invests, these private millers are the ones who now come. They come around because they're able to pay you in cash. Government invests, but the sugar can go to the private sector. So what we must do is to enable the farmer earn something on his sugar cane. And what is being reformed are the following. One is what Honorable Nyonka has talked about, the cane seed. We need cane that mature faster. 2, transportation of cane in a manner that does not make farmers lose. 3, and most importantly and fundamentally, is pricing of cane and weighing of cane. And then 4, prompt payment for those who deliver their cane.
What do you mean pricing of cane and weighing of cane?
You know, this is the way it works. That someone will come to your farm to pick a sugar cane. Sugar cane that you've grown in your own money, your own shamba. And they'll pick it at the farm gate and go and weigh it at the factory. So if the sugar cane that left your farm was probably 10 tons, but along the way things happen and all that, by the time the sugar cane is being weighed at the factory, it's 8 tons, 7. 2, who sets the pricing of cane, the price of cane? Is the factory, they don't set up the factory set up the price of cane. And then, when Mumias was working, people get good money for their canes. But now, you're told, oh, we loaned you this kind of money. You go to your 10 acres, Sam. Your sugar cane is worth, for example, 2 million shillings. But the day you're being paid debits. You're being told, oh, you know, we gave you this, we gave you fertilizer, we gave you seed, we gave you all this. So farmers have been losing upon losing everything because the sector is not controlled.
All right.
And so, Sam, I just want to hope that Kenyans work with the president on this issue. And people talk about Singapore, people talk about Malaysia, people talk about South Korea.
Right.
These things the president talking about happened there. These things of either uondoke, ama usafirishwe, ama uhame Kenya. Those things happen in places where people are serious about investments, so that you don't play with people's lives.
And where does that sit with the Constitution?
I told you today I'm not going to talk about the law because I'm a lawyer, yes, but on matters of sugar, the areas where you can't allow, people to keep on holding us hostage. Sam, if you allowed cases, if you allowed these cases and the cartels go on the sugar industry, it will never work because someone says he's crushing sugarcane into sugar. He tells you that I crush, I'm able to get you 500,000 tons. But the guy only produces 100,000 tons, and the 400,000 he imports into the country and repackages as made in Kenya. It just doesn't work like that. Sam, yes, that I'm not able to, but that sector needs serious, thorough surgery, and these people have been spoken to. Sam, it's very important to also note that these people have been talked and been requested that please, for national interest, cede your interests. Allow us to organize a sector.
Requested by who?
But the person who is saying, if you look at that story, he's done how many meetings? He said, when I came in, you were reading a news story, that he's done more than 20 meetings. Whom is he talking to? Not government officials only. He's talking to all these sugar sector players and telling them, look, guys, we need to help the farmer get something in this sector. Please, help us reorganize the sector. But then people leave and put cases upon cases, some of them sponsored by sponsorees and sponsorees. It can't work.
Sammy, I've been in parliament with my brother Ocheng. But that's what worries me, what he's saying. We must be a consistent nation. We must be a country that believes in the law. And I'm not vouching for anybody in this case. All I'm saying, my brother David Ocheng, is, number one, the statement the president has made, particularly by mentioning that these Indians, what the president, I said it here, what the president says has a lot of weight. These Indians are the ones who are actually investing and doing business in our country. So the question then becomes, is the president trying to radicalize the consumers of his information? And I'm really heartbroken to hear my brother Ocheng say that it doesn't matter for us to use the Constitution or not. In that case, then let the president call Parliament and let him bring a law so that we give him open carte blanche for him to do whatever he wants until the sugar factory is set up. Number two, there is a statement you hear people make about the ease with which you do business. The problem with Kenya is not that Kenyans don't know what the problem of Mumias is, my brother Ocheng. We know. I could actually run the factory and produce money. All right. But Mumias and Zoya and Sony Sugar and Chemeli Sugar Company, these are companies that have deliberately set up to fail. That's why I used the example. I said, why is it that private companies that are being run, whether they're being run by these Asians, I can tell you, the owner of Transmara Sugar is an Indian guy who used to sell bread in Kisi Town. The guy then took his money, something like 1.2 billion shillings, borrowed it from some international finance corporation, went and started growing sugar in Transmara. He's doing successful business. The Rai family have got an interest in Kabras. They have been running the sugar factories. They are paying people on time. They are actually conducting themselves as a successful business enterprise. What is happening with government-owned sugar factories is not that we need to get Indians and shoot them for people to learn. Let the government just sit down, come up with policy which the government is clear about, make sure that if the law allows the government to intervene, if the law allows the government to take over those sugar factories and run them as a government, that is something I would like to discuss and debate in Parliament.
But what do they want to buy them?
Hold on. That is what I would want the leadership in Western Kenya to tell us when we're in Parliament. Why is it that this leadership, if you look at the Mumia Sugar and Zoia Sugar and all this story, the political class that has been running these institutions, that has been in office for the last 25 years, my brother Ochieng, they are the same people who are there. The public never punishes them.
I agree with you.
All right. The thing has been run basically as a cartel. So I agree that the president is pinpointing the issues correctly, but the way he's pronouncing them is against the law.
I hear you.
Yes.
Geoffrey Wendeto, I want us to exit from this conversation before we take a break, but just 2 weeks ago, the former Prime Minister spoke and said that this is a rogue ambassador. The president came and defended the ambassador and said, these are people that are coming to invest billions of shillings in this country. We cannot start fighting our friends. When the president is speaking about Indians, singling them out as investors in this country, specific ones that he says are behind the cartels. So where do you draw the line? So you want American investors, but you're also speaking against some Indian investors. What are you dealing with as a country?
I think we really need investors in this country. They can come in black, they can be white, they can be any color. We need every dollar, every shilling of the investment that we can get, because that is how you grow an economy. So from where I sit, and my understanding of the position of the Kenya Kwanza government is that all investors are welcome in this country. Be they Americans, be they Indians, they have a home in this country, but everybody has to play by the rules.
So are you disturbed by what he said, or you're comfortable with it?
I repeat, everybody has to play by the rules. If someone does not play by the rules, we'll call them out.
I'm being very specific.
If that person is an American, we'll call him out. If that person is an Indian, we'll call him out, if he doesn't play by the rules. If that person is African, we will do the same.
Okay, so cost of cane, earlier this month we worked on some research on this, and 1 ton of cane goes for 5,500 shillings, regardless of the sucrose content, which is not necessarily checked. And a ton of cane produces about 100 kilograms of sugar. Currently, we're importing more than we are producing. The importers are different people. The millers were not allowed to import, but the sugar you find on the shelves is branded Kenyan. We take a short break here. We come back with more, specifically on the question of oil and petroleum prices. What is it?